sir.
Chris.
Gouge my eyes out. Gouge my eyes out. What are you doing with that in the intro? I blame Mr. Chris Hall for that. But anyway, the blame game put to the side. Welcome back. We did not expect it, but we are back live to talk about the latest news with regarding this ridiculously long, drawn-out saga involving Newcastle United and Alexander Isak. Boys, quickly round up. Daz, how are you? Chris, how are you? How's things?
I'm actually better than I was at the start of the last show. But anyway, let's carry on. Chris, how are you?
Good, mate. I've got a little update since the last show. Obviously, anyone who caught Top Table Talk earlier will have seen that I left early, and that was to go and play football. So I came home, I've had a shower. I've got my tea here, but I haven't ate it yet. But yeah, some breaking news that obviously we wanted to come on and discuss, boys. But Pete, how are you doing, mate? You okay?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Yeah, I was planning to watch a TV series, a bloody good one as well, with the missus, and it gets ruined. If anyone's not watched Capture on Netflix, you need to watch it. It is unbelievable, and we're being dragged away.
Ironic name there. Ironic
name for some number 14 that's an absolute clown. But anyway, let's get into it. Alexander Isak, boys, has finally spoken. It is absolutely breaking news. And yes, he has spoken through this. Now, he has been named in the team of the season, PFA Premier League team of the season for 24-25. And he says, first and foremost, I would like to thank my teammates and everyone at Newcastle United who have supported me along the way. I'm not at the ceremony tonight with everything going on. I didn't feel right to be there. I've kept quiet for a long time with others have spoken. Whilst others have spoken, that silence has allowed people to push their own version of events, even though they know it doesn't reflect what was really said and agreed behind closed doors. The reality is that promises were made, and the club has known my position for a long time. To now act as if these issues are only emerging is misleading. When promises are broken and trust is lost, the relationship can't continue. That's where things are for me right now, and why change is in the best interest of everyone, not just myself. So that's the statement there, boys. Get your thoughts on that statement in itself. Daz, I know you've had a chance to already kind of give your opinion on it, but now you've had time to reflect. What's your thought on that statement from Alexander Isak?
Yeah, my opinion earlier on was at the end of the show we just brought it to our attention, so it didn't really get a chance to. But we discussed going live straight away there then, but then we said we'd take a bit of time, sit back, give Chris a chance to get back from footy, and since we've gone through this has been our summer. Isak has been our summer, 2025. We might as well stick with this story and see it through to conclusion. So let me bring it up again. The first three paragraphs there are waffle. They're almost like that. All the good things, and here then it gets to the but. I've kept quiet for a long time while others have spoken. Is he talking about Eddie Howe there? The silence has allowed people to push their own versions of events. Even Eddie Howe is the only one that's speaking, that's allowed to speak. We don't have a CEO, we don't have a sporting director, as we all know. It doesn't reflect what really has been said behind and agreed behind closed doors. So is he accusing people of lying of what they have been saying? The reality is that promises were made, and the club has known my position for a long time. Now that's not really been coming out in the discussions that we've seen to date. To act now as if these issues are only emerging is misleading. So who's telling the truth here? If we're to believe this statement, let's say. But I'll cut to the chase. This is a last roll of the dice from Alexander Isak for me. It's his last roll of the dice to try and get his move to Liverpool that he craves so much. And I know we'll get to it. It's great to see the club coming out through journalists. There hasn't been an official statement as far as I know yet, but it's good that they're holding firm and they're sticking to their guns and they're not going to cave in. And if he is to leave at any time, it'll be on our terms. When we have replacements in place, then we can do a deal. So for me, he needs to agree to stay at Newcastle for this season, whether the contract gets sorted out some way to allow that to happen, and he stays for this season, and we'll have maybe a plan for next summer after that. That's me.
Chris, obviously you weren't on the back end of Top Table Talk when this kind of broke, so now you've had a little bit of time to think about it. What is your opinion regarding this statement, mate?
So interesting, mate. Like, obviously, as you said there, I was playing footy and then I looked at my phone and it was just blowing up and I was like, what's this? What's been going on? Lots of Liverpool mates messaging me over it. And yeah, as Daz rightly said, the first 3 paragraphs are a waffle. There's a few things that stand out for me in this statement. The first one being, there's no reference at all to the fans. And do you remember we were saying earlier on Top Table Talk at the beginning of the show that he needs to come out and he needs to apologise to the fans? No reference to the fans whatsoever, which I think is quite poignant. I think that's been done purposely. And let's be honest, boys. Let's make this clear. I'm sure everyone at home knows this. This statement or this post has not been written by Alexander Isak. There's absolutely no way this statement has been written by Alexander Isak. This has been given to him by somebody who's very, very, very carefully worded this. And it's funny, I read it about 4 or 5 times because I wanted to digest it and take it in. And to me, I agree with Daz. I think it's the last roll of the dice before the transfer request, which, by the way, I don't think will ever come because it will cost him too much money. I don't think there will be a transfer request. But I found it interesting because, like I say, there was no reference at all to the fans. And he's talking about, broken promises and trust being lost. And for me, there's nothing damning in there. There's nothing in there where I've gone, ooh, I didn't get to the end of that statement and go, oh my God. I almost felt a little bit like, and what? So, nothing's changed. Where's the bid? Where's the money? Where's you saying you want to leave? He's alluding to the fact he wants to leave, and that's obvious. Saying, but even when you reread it, boys, that's where things are for me right now. Not that's the final straw. That's the final line. That's where things are for me right now.
No.
Then you get why change is in the best interest of everyone, not just myself. And again, I look at it and I just think it's just been so carefully worded. I don't know. And also, again, Daz, great point you made earlier. In reference of, I've been silent and, now I'm having my say. But what are you actually saying? Because you're not actually saying very much. You haven't actually said very much. He's alluding to the fact that promises have been made. We can assume this is a contract. My mates were messaging me going, oh, you promised him he could leave. Doesn't say that. Doesn't say that anywhere. And I don't think that says it anywhere because I don't think that was never the plan, boys. The plan was never for him to leave this window. I don't believe. I don't believe he was promised to leave. That's not to say that Newcastle weren't trying to get replacements in through the door. Maybe, before the news broke or, before Alexander Isak went AWOL, the club were aware of it and they were trying to bring in, some high quality replacements. Obviously, they wouldn't announce to everybody that Alexander Isak wanted to leave. So I understand that, but I don't know. I got to the end of this statement and I just thought, so basically this could go one of two ways. And I think he knows that himself. I think he knows that. And I fully expect the club to come out, all guns blazing, and basically not refer to a lot of what he said and basically say he's not for sale. And I think he knows that's what the club are going to do. Now, it's then up to him to then come back again and either put in a transfer request or potentially buckle down and sign a new contract. And as I say, when I read this, it doesn't slam the door shut. It doesn't slam the door shut on staying at Newcastle. Now, I'm not, pinning my hopes to this and saying, yeah, he might be staying. It's not that. It's more the fact that I don't want this club to be pushed around, and I certainly don't want this club to be buckling under pressure. And I think he knows that. This is not a message that's come from a position of strength whatsoever. And and like I said at the very start, I'm going to get Pete's thoughts on this as well. And like I said at the very start, I think it's very interesting. There's no reference to the fans whatsoever. And I think he could possibly be saving that. I mean, I can already see it, boys. I'm already looking into the future, and Newcastle refuse to sell him, and he signs a new contract, and then he comes out and speaks to the fans. Broken promises, but now the trust's been. We've built the trust back, and we can march forward together. I can see the statement now. I can see the statements. He hasn't drawn a line and really made it clear what he wants to do and what his intentions are. He's alluding to it, but he's not burnt his bridges fully in this statement for me.
Sorry, Pete. Just one thing that you said there, Chris, and it's that second last line there. That's where things are for me right now, and this is what you referred to as well. So, is he referencing the next 13 days? That's the way things are. It'll be a different story in the next 13 days when he has to go down the route that you're saying then of referencing back another message. It can't be another one of these written messages. Anyone can write that for him, as you said a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, he hasn't repeated that, and that's very obvious. Sorry, Pete, go on, mate.
First thing I saw is the point that you made. The first thing I wanted to see as a Newcastle fan is him acknowledge the fans. And it was the first thing I noticed, is that there was no reference to the fans at all. Whether that's because he's heard how the fans feel and have heard them loud and clear at Villa Park on Saturday, maybe, I don't know. He should have referenced the fans. And he hasn't. This is why people are calling him all the names under the sun.
I think he's saving it, Pete. He's saving the fans' part.
It's too late. It's too late. He should have done it now. It's too late. Doesn't matter. For me, this situation is nothing's changed. Nothing's changed in this situation. Alexander Isak wants to go. The club are saying he's not for sale unless it's at a certain price. Nothing's changed whatsoever. Everything is as it was. This is, and I tell you what, this tells you everything you need to know. Is that you look at the reactions to this off the back of it. Craig Hope, I talked about broken promises. Is it relating to the contract? It absolutely is. You know why? It's because that's the only thing that we know for certain. That's the only thing that we know for certain, is that there was meant to be a contract last summer, and there is no contract. Why? Because of Paul Mitchell. Paul Mitchell's no longer at the club. So that's the only thing that we know for certain. Everything else is one against the other. It's tit for tat. Doesn't mean anything for us. As fans and as people reading that, means nothing. So one word against the other. All we know is that it's relating to the contract. We've got the next point here, Ben Jacobs. He hints at the lack of contract, which is absolutely the conversation that we've just had. Then you've got Luke Edwards saying that Newcastle have strenuously denied any promises were made to allow him to leave this summer. This is the last move available to him. And you know what? That runs true from lots of different comments been made here. Isak's statement from Alex Crook, TalkSport. Isak's statement looks like one last attempt to force a move from Newcastle United. You've got John Cross of the Mirror. No way back for Isak at Newcastle. Bombshell statement. His last roll of the dice. This is all this is. This is all this is. We thought his last roll of the dice was a transfer request. We were wrong. It wasn't the last roll of the dice. This was. You know why? It's because it's about money. He doesn't want to give up the money. A transfer request would show that he desperately wants to leave the club and he's willing to take a pay cut in order to get that. It's because he didn't get the big upgrade in contract when he felt he was deserved of it last summer. This is what it boils down to. Liverpool are willing to pay him £300,000 to £400,000 a week. This is what it is. If you want to keep me, this is 4 weeks ago, mind. If you want to keep me, you have to give me £300,000 a week. That was the conversation, wasn't it? 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, is that if you want me to sign a new contract, it's 300 grand a week. It's all about money. This is what it is, and this is all it's proven to be. And that statement there proves that. It proves it. It's about money. Because if he really wanted to show his desire to leave this club, he'd have put a transfer request in and he would have let it be known that he's willing to take a pay cut or lose out on his money to ensure he gets that move. And he's not willing to do it. Tells you everything you need to know about the man. And we're seeing a completely different side to Alexander Isak right now. This is what we're starting to see. It's all about that. It's all about the money. And not just him, it's his agent too. Remember, we talked about it the other day. His agent wants the big payday before his retirement. He wants off in a year's time. He wants to know that his big cash cow in Alexander Isak is going to provide him with that big chunk of change, because a new contract wouldn't do that. But a transfer to another club where Isak gets his money and the agent gets the big payout, both of them are walking off very, very happy. We thought Ekatike and his agent were bad. Whoa! We've got someone that's trumped him, and it's Alexander Isak and his agent. We thought they were bad with the Enjoy. Nah, these guys are way, way worse, and they've just proven it. But you know what, boys? He stays until the value is made. It's as simple as that. I back my club on this. I back my club 100%. You want him? You pay the money. You're not going to get him on the cheap. Otherwise, he stays at Newcastle United and he's going to have to sulk and he's going to have to do whatever he needs to do. Certainly won't crawl back now for me. If he can't recognise the fan in that statement, there's no way we're getting a statement of apology. There is no way. We had that conversation on Top Table Talk tonight. But that is what it is. That's what it boils down to. That is where we are right now. Alexander Isak wants his money. He wants his move to get his big fat wage and payday. It's not about anything else, because let's be honest, he's got nothing else to moan about. This is not historical, people, into anything other than the contract. You don't go to Sweden on international duty in March and declare your love for Newcastle United and the club that you're at and the fans and the players and everything else. You don't do it in an interview again in April, declaring your love for Newcastle United. You don't turn up to a photo shoot for the new kit. You don't tell your new signing, Anthony Elanga, how happy you are with the big heart emojis if you're not prepared to stay at the club. What's happened is that they've got a whiff of a chance of this big, big money, and they've gone with it. They've followed the scent. That's all it is. That is all it is. But this club needs to stick to their guns. And I believe they will. And tonight, they have shown exactly that.
I think he knows, Pete. He knows they will. He knows that the club have got every intention of keeping him. And as everyone said, this is his last roll of the dice. He's now got desperate because he knows that the transfer window closing is creeping closer and closer and closer, and nothing's happening over it. So now he's trying to drum up the interest and trying to force his way out. But I don't think this statement does that at all.
But if you change the words of that song as well, gimme, 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 a greedy bastard from Sweden. Should be the new lyrics.
It can be changed to whatever we want, but we know that we know it. And someone's put in the chat, well, we don't know that's for true, but we do. Because if you really wanted to, we'd have put the transfer request in. A transfer request means that you waive your right to any money being paid to you when you leave the club. That's what forcing the transfer request means. It allows you to waive that. He's not willing to do it. Why, when a player is apparently so desperate to leave, have they not put in a transfer request?
Yeah.
It doesn't. None of it makes sense. And for the last few days, so many people in media and pundits and ex-professionals alike have all said it. Why is he not putting the transfer request? It doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. And so, yes, the bit at the end of the statement, and I'll put it back up where it says, that's where things are for me right now, is that he has to leave it ajar. He has to leave it ajar because when the window's open, he is not, and we talked about it on live tonight. Dan United said the same. Charlie said the same. Sava said the same. He is not going to sit there and not play football for a season. A World Cup season. In a few weeks' time, they're going international duty. He is not going to destroy his chances of having a good season and then going on to a World Cup. He's not going to do it. He's going to play, and he knows he's going to crawl back. He probably doesn't want to crawl back. He's probably embarrassed at the fact that he's gone to these lengths to try and force this move. He doesn't want to face his players, his teammates, because he knows how embarrassing he's been, and he knows how disrespectful, and this hasn't been talked about enough, guys, how disrespectful he's been to his own teammates. This level of behavior has gone way beyond him. He has impacted the players, but he's treated the players with absolute disrespect. There's no wonder why Bruno Guimaraes put this out on Instagram, not literally 5 minutes after the statement came out, because what he's doing, he's throwing his colours to the flag. He's telling us exactly where he stands on all of this. He's telling us that as the captain of this club, that he is Newcastle United, and he is sticking by this club. He is sticking by our fans. He's sticking by his players. That's the kind of player I want at Newcastle United. And he's done that, and he didn't have to say any words. But what he's done with that is shown where he stands in this situation. And it's certainly not with Alexander Isak.
Just to add in a couple of things, we've got a lot of people in the chat. So we've got James Barber who's saying a transfer request makes no difference. What do you think that post is? And Cameron is saying, don't you think Liverpool would cover the money? Just to be clear here, Alexander Isak, if Liverpool pay 150 million for Alexander Isak is entitled to 10% cut if he doesn't request the move. So Alexander Isak would be entitled to around £15 million. Now, Liverpool won't honour that. Liverpool won't give Alexander Isak the £50 million when they're spending 150 million on him. And yes, they can give him the higher wages, absolutely. But surely it would be better for Alexander Isak to not put in a transfer request, pocket his 15 million and get his 300 grand a week, which is what we're seeing now. This is exactly what we're seeing now. So just to kind of put everyone in the picture, that's why he's not handed in a transfer request, because then he loses the entitlement to the loyalty bonus. And this is what we're all talking about now.
If it was purely about footballing reasons, which we've been told constantly by Liverpool fans and constantly from opposition fans of other clubs, that it's about football. He wants to win trophies. He wants to win the Champions League. He wants to win the league. Maybe he does. But if he really did, and it was all about football, he would waive that, put his transfer request in, and force that move in the proper manner. That's what he would have done. But he hasn't. And he still hasn't. And he's done all of these things. And he's put a statement out. And he still hasn't put a transfer request in. People are getting smart to it now. This has been going on too long, guys. It's been going on far too long that Newcastle United fans and now people in the media, pundits, various other people are now wise to it. And this is the first thing that people are saying. I put on there about John Cross, Luke Edwards, Ben Jacobs, Fabrizio Romano, all these people. In fact, I don't know about Fabrizio Romano because I've not looked at any of his tweets. But they're all saying the same. Last roll of the dice, last chance saloon, forcing one last chance to force the move. This is what he's doing. This is what he's doing. This is the only way he can do these things. And it's all about doing it to ensure that he still gets his money and he doesn't have to put a transfer request in. Nothing's changed. The only thing that can change now, boys, is Liverpool stump up the money. All this does tonight is put pressure back on Liverpool. All eyes now are on Liverpool Football Club. You've seen us put the statement out. He's done his part. Now he's probably looking at Liverpool and going, okay, you're going to bid? That's what I'm waiting for now. What are you going to do now? 115, 120? Nah, that's not what Newcastle United want. And you think that Newcastle United, after stuff like this and stunts like this, are going to go, oh, go on then. No, they're going to be even more staunch in this situation. They're going to be even more determined to either keep the player or force their value through. That's what they're going to do at this point. That's the situation that we're in right now. So they think that they're doing right, but Newcastle United have held firm all summer. And I believe they will continue to until that, what Genie Esther said there, until that is paid. Otherwise, he stays at the club. And Newcastle United will pick up the pieces. They will pick up the pieces.
Even that, now for me, this is what I was making the saying on Top Level Block. Even that for me now is not good enough. The players aren't there available to us to go pick up now. Yeah, and everyone knows we have 150 million. Let's play out the scenario. Like your Wisa, who is now 60 million, becomes 65, 70. Your Larson is now 75 million. And you're not getting bang for buck there, and you're just wasting the cash that you're after bringing in.
Mm. Yeah. Just to add in as well, a few Liverpool fans in here. So, Dayami Slug says, how would Liverpool bid? Newcastle aren't even coming to the table. Dayami Slug, Newcastle didn't come to the table when you put 110 in.
There you go.
So what's stopping you from putting in your other verbal bids like you threw in last time? If Liverpool come in and went, we'll offer you 150 million if you come to the table, things might change. But you're not going to put that money in. So
Newcastle United have never been at the table, and they weren't at the table 3 months ago. They weren't at the table 6 months ago. They weren't at the table 9 months ago, and they weren't at the table 12 months ago when it was all about Arsenal and Isak. Newcastle United have never been at the table. So if you're that desperate to get him, it's not about whether Newcastle come to the table. It's about Liverpool showing that they've got the money to match Newcastle's value. Matching Newcastle's value is paying the 150, which they've been saying for 9 months now. Nothing has changed. Newcastle United are the only ones in this that haven't changed their stance from the beginning. If you want a conversation around Alexander Isak, it's 150 million, but we don't want to sell. And they've maintained that all the way through. How some people can't get that in their heads, I have no idea. We've been reading on it, talking about it for like nearly 9 months now. Newcastle's stance has always been the same. They've been continuous. They've been constant. Nothing has changed. 150 million to have a conversation. Otherwise, he's not for sale.
I think that's a good point as well. I think that's a good point from Tino.
But that's similar to what Dad said. Like,
yeah, it is. It is.
But at this point now, I'm not sure Liverpool have got the money. I'm not sure they have got the money, because why are they having to drag? Why are they allowing Isak to continually drag himself, him and his agent, are dragging themselves through the mud for Liverpool Football Club? The Liverpool Football Club ain't even putting a bid in. They're not putting any sort of money in. They're not putting the money where their mouth is. 110 million. It's even been documented. They put it in knowing it was going to be rejected. So why even put it in? They only put it in just to say that they've actually bid for him. That's all they've said. That's all they've done it for, is to say, oh, well, we put a bid in. Is it a case of, oh, well, we tried? No, that's nowhere near the value of Alexander Isak. It's as simple as that.
Boys.
And I don't think, my last point on this section before Daz comes in, I don't think this has got the reaction that Alexander Isak wanted. And I don't think it will get the reaction that Alexander Isak wanted. I don't think it's hit. Just don't think it has.
But there about a few days ago, maybe it was the reaction show, we talked about something happened this week. We talked about a Liverpool low ball bid to disrupt everything in the lead up to the game. I'm now predicting that, and that hasn't happened, of course. Could happen later this week. I'm now predicting that after this Liverpool game into next week, Isak, as I said, this is his last roll of the dice. Isak starts making things right behind the scenes, starting with Eddie Howe, starting with the players, and then maybe some kind of statement or weak ass statement towards the fans, because he'll want to be getting training before the Leeds game. Maybe this is a push, getting on the bench for the Wolves game, because then we're into the Champions League games, and he's going to want to be in the picture for there. So I think from next week we'll start to see him, the tides turning. This is his last play on this, and the saga is coming towards a conclusion.
I agree. This definitely feels like a last chance saloon, and then I think he's got no choice but to eat some humble pie, because he cannot. And let's make this clear. We've said this all along, boys. He cannot continue this exodus, being AWOL. He can't continue it. As soon as the transfer window shuts, he's gonna have to bring himself back into the fold. He can't wait until January, or he can't wait until next summer and not play any football. He simply can't do that. And every time, and boys, we saw the change in approach this week, didn't we? We heard Craig Hope talk about it, where they said that because he's missed a professional game, he gets fined. The fines are only going to keep coming, and the fines are probably only going to get bigger.
Now, think about it. When did the fines start?
Yes, last weekend.
Yeah, for the weekend gone.
So now we're kind of making sense of why this reaction has happened now. Tuesday was always the perfect time to respond, because he would have known in advance, because he was invited to the PFA Awards, that he was in the team of the season. This was always going to be the plan for him to put something out tonight. And this is a reaction to him actually getting a fine.
Yeah.
Why is he reacting like this? Because he lost money. It's all about the money. It's all about the money.
Just a couple more Liverpool comments here. Cameron, thanks very much for tuning in. Thanks for sticking with us. He says they've sold 220 million. They can spend 400 million. So he's referring to Liverpool, making all the sales that they can. And maybe Liverpool do have the money, but maybe they just don't want to spend the money. Maybe they don't want to pay, the 150 million that Alexander Isak costs. But this has been our problem since day one, Cameron. Liverpool have come in with 110 million. Allegedly they think that's fair, or they think that there's a bargain to be had here. I'm sorry, but you cannot pay 116 million for Florian Wirtz, very, very talented, German international, and then expect to go and get arguably one of the best, if not the best striker in Europe, and pay less, who's Premier League experienced and scored over 20 goals in the last 2 seasons. You cannot do that. You can't pay the price that you think he's worth or that you want to pay. And no matter how many times Alexander Isak throws his toys out the pram, this situation, Newcastle aren't going to accept a lower offer. This is why we're still here now on the 19th of August. This has been going on for weeks, months. This position isn't going to change. And this is the problem. And also, Demi Slug, he says, it's safe to say Isak was right if Newcastle don't release a statement. I think Newcastle will release a statement. Whether that comes this evening, whether it comes tomorrow, I fully expect Newcastle to release a statement. Do you boys expect Newcastle to respond to this?
Well, Giniesta has said here as well in his super chat. Cheers, Giniesta. He says, need a club statement ASAP, not Eddie Howe on the presser. Everything goes back to Eddie Howe. This is where the club falls down. Yeah, we need a CEO that's with us, and we need a sporting director that can do a job as well. We haven't got those yet.
Well, this is part of the problem, is that in this situation, this is where a CEO and a sporting director would manage this and go, right, here's the plan of action, here's what we do. I would expect a club statement to be put out, and not in a couple of days' time. It needs to be at some point tomorrow. They need to hit back, and we've heard from Luke Edwards. People that are late to the show, you might have missed this, but Luke Edwards has said, Newcastle have strenuously denied any promises were made to allow him to leave this summer. This is the last move available to him to force to sell the club. Let's see what happens. I'm anticipating some sort of response from the club this evening. He also mentions further down a couple of other bits with regards to Ekitike. I'm just trying to find the other part of what Luke Edwards said. He said something in here. Newcastle have strenuously denied any promises have been broken, and that there was no agreement from the club to let him leave this summer. Some of it is similar to be said, but a statement will come out from the club. It needs to be nipped in the bud, and it needs to be said that Isak's not for sale. We've maintained it, and we continue to maintain he's not for sale. We have a value on his head. It hasn't been met. That is a situation that we're in, and that's how it needs to stay. It's as simple as that. And they just need to be really simplistic with it, and I believe they will. And that then evens up the score, because everyone's talking like Isak's been wronged and he's the victim here. No, he's not. Okay? He's not at all. You cannot brush his behavior this summer under the rug by one statement. That is not good enough. There is no way near good enough.
We've got any more super chats, boys?
Yeah, exactly. Read my mind. This one from GK3719. He says his contract is not changed by side promises. Liverpool only learned he is poorly advised. Liverpool only learns he is poorly advised, which I suspect they already knew or know. Just say you want to leave, but then show up for work. The same for Wisa. Agreed. Show up for work. We don't agree with what Wisa's doing either, by the way. But cheers, GK.
That needs to be said more and more often, because in response to the Isak situation tonight, I've had a number of people go and call out Newcastle for hypocrisy because of the Wisa situation. I'm going, hold on a second. Like, they're clearly not looking at Newcastle accounts. They're clearly not looking at responses from Newcastle on social media with regards to Wisa. I had a conversation with Lawless about it, and he was like, oh, well, I've seen Liverpool fans responding to Newcastle fans that are saying that it's okay for Wisa to behave this way. And I'm going, that is not the general consensus from any Newcastle United fans, certainly that I've spoken to. And we speak to a lot of Newcastle United fans, whether it's in the chat here, whether it's on social media. There's not one that I've spoken to that's even justified Wisa's behaviour in this. It is not acceptable. I've spoken to Newcastle fans that don't want him off the back of his behaviour. They don't want him at the club if he's behaving like that. But that needs to be put out there more, because there seems to be this consensus. And Liverpool fans, not all, but a lot of Liverpool fans, I'll say, on social media, are trying to create this narrative that we're okay that Weiss is doing this, but it's bad that Isak's not. That is not the case. They're both just as bad as each other for behaving the way they are. It is not acceptable in any way, shape, or form.
Another point, and I made it on Top Table Talk as well. You look at the example of Eze, who's played in the Community Shield, who scored a goal that was disallowed against Chelsea at the weekend, and he's linked to Spurs. He's the bids or the deals it's happening in the background, and he's still training with them. It's just, this is what normally happens with when transfers are made, not this kind of scenarios. Chris, anything else you want to get in with here?
Do you know what? I just wanted to respond again to a couple of people in the chat. Ilmatic. Isak will still get his weekly wages even if he plays like shiz. Do you know what, Ilmatic? This is something that, again, we've spoken about in great length. In my opinion, and I think the boys share this opinion, as soon as that transfer window shuts, it's within Alexander Isak's best interest to play as well as he possibly can. Because let's be honest, if he's so desperate to leave Newcastle United and he's so desperate to go and get the wages that he believes he deserves, and I'm not suggesting he doesn't deserve those wages. In my opinion, he should have been offered a contract way back when. But to then act the way that he's done now, this is the problem that us fans have with Alexander Isak, because really what he should have done is continue to act professional, maybe said it behind the scenes and said that he wanted to leave, but still acted in a professional way and still, carries out his duties, which is what he's paid for every week. But make no mistake about it, Ilmatic, in my opinion, and as I say, I'm sure the boys agree, Alexander Isak has to start playing well when he does come back into the fold, if he does come back into the fold, because if he wants that move, he can't then play a season for Newcastle, a half-hour season for Newcastle, and score 5 goals or something like that, because he's not going to get his move. He won't get the move that he so desperately craves. Alexander Isak's going to have to get his head down, and he's going to have to perform like he has done for the last 2 seasons, and then hope that somebody, either in January or next summer, comes in for him. And maybe the position will change. Maybe if Newcastle go and sign, a replacement, Alexander Isak may be allowed to leave. Maybe if somebody reaches the valuation that Newcastle United have set on Alexander Isak, then maybe he will be allowed to leave. But at the moment, Newcastle United don't have a replacement for Alexander Isak, and Newcastle United haven't received a sufficient bid for Alexander Isak, which is why he's still at the club, which is why he's acting the way he is now. But when that transfer window shuts, he can't just sulk and sit in the corner and not get involved and not want to play well, because a lot changes in football, and changes very, very quickly. In 6 to 12 months' time, if Alexander Isak's off the back of a really poor season, nobody's going to be bidding for Alexander Isak, and nobody's going to be putting in any kind of bids that we're looking to receive in order to sell him. Nobody's going to do that. So it's in his best interest to get his head down and start working and start scoring goals. That's my opinion. I don't know whether you agree with that, boys.
Yeah, I know. I agree with that. I just want to go to a few more super chats.
Sorry, mate.
We've got them in as well. So some Samsonite Dove, who says, if anything, it hardens the resolve to keep him. I'm of the opinion that's something what we said earlier.
That needs to be exactly the standpoint. So on top of that, there was and I started it for that reason from Fumby. He said, sell him now. Fumby wants him gone. He wanted him gone the other week. He wanted him gone weeks ago. No, this is not how it works. We all want him to leave the club. We don't want him to be there, but we need to do exactly what Samsonite Dove has said. We need to stand firm on this. We need to let the player know and the agent know that they can't just stump their feet and throw their toys out the pram and expect to get what they want. It might well hit us down the line in terms of the value we get for him, and we might have an unhappy player for a period of time. But if they don't hit our value, he must stay at the club. And you know what? We talked about it earlier on in the show. We need our players in, even at that point, even if they slap 150 million down tomorrow. We don't accept the bid until we get 2 players through the door that we want, that we feel are good enough to take us through the rest of the season. Is it going to be happening or likely to happen? Probably not. But we should hold the cards here. Remember, they're the ones that have acted up. They're the ones that have acted up. Liverpool have. They've unsettled the player. Isak, his agent, they've all acted up this summer. Newcastle United have had to pick up the pieces with the manager, with the players, with all the noise around it affecting pre-season. We've been on the receiving end of all of this summer. So we now hold the cards. They started it, we finish it. It's as simple as that.
Just on Fumby's point, because I can see where Fumby's coming from, because right through the saga, your attitude and your thoughts on this has changed. But if this was the start of the window, this happened, I would be saying yes, sell him now, because he's got loads of times and loads of time and loads of options to choose from. But 13 days left, we're in no man's land here. We've got no choice. Just a few more super chats, boys. Thursday says Isak starts reintegration, accepting he'll remain. That's the next thing to come, I think.
I completely agree.
Giniesta as well says Liverpool got 150 million for Nunez via PIF. Diaz and Doak, they got the money. I think we touched a bit on that as well. But cheers, Giniesta, for the super chat. And Tino says And but kind of linking in what you were describing as well, Chris, about his price needing to either remain or he needs it for himself. But Tina says maybe even after the World Cup, his price goes up.
Cool.
Interesting.
It could.
Yeah.
It absolutely could. If Alexander Isak, comes back into this Newcastle United team and is banging goals from everywhere, and then goes to the World Cup and has a fantastic World Cup, everybody knows it's the worst kept secret. Alexander Isak wants to leave the club, and as I say, if this transfer window comes to an end and Alexander Isak's still at the club, I would not be in the slightest bit surprised if he signed that new contract. And there's a clause in there. It would not surprise me at all.
Still have 2 years left on his deal, though.
He will.
That's why the value won't go up. It doesn't
but
matter
I wonder
this season. It doesn't matter how good his World Cup is. His value won't go up because he might well sign a new contract, but it won't necessarily add any years on. We talked about Trossard tonight. He signed a new deal. Didn't affect how many years his contract was, but it just upped his money. It just changed how much he earned. That is what I think will happen with Isak. There's no point adding years onto his contract, and he won't want that either. He'll just want to be paid more and allowed to leave in the summer. Otherwise, he won't sign a new contract. So I think that's the one area that we'd probably have to agree to in order to end this conversation and be able to move forward. But I don't think whatever his value is now, of 150 million, it won't be that next summer.
Yeah.
There is some breaking news. Craig Hopers said as an exclusive, Newcastle now have no intentions of allowing Alexander Isak to leave in light of this bombshell statement. That is exactly what we needed. That is exactly what we needed. No intentions to sell him. The club have pursued alternatives and would have explored sale to Liverpool, but message from top tonight is clear. Oh, from the top, meaning the ownership tonight. He'll be told he's staying. That is what I wanted to hear tonight. That is what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thanks for watching. Go enjoy the rest of your summer. Good night, everyone.
I thought you were actually going to end it there. You might as well.
A greedy bastard from Sweden, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. That is what I wanted to hear tonight.
Yeah. We needed that, a firm stance. And that is exactly what we wanted to hear. We've wanted to hear that for a while, and I think now him rolling that dice, one last time, I think it's almost backed the club into a corner, and they probably didn't like it and thought, right, well, you're definitely staying now. You're definitely staying now. And for any Liverpool fans watching at home, I'm sorry, I think the price might have gone up even more now.
Yeah. Love it. Absolutely love it. You pissed off the club, and now they've reacted. And now your chance of leaving, God, love it. Love it. Absolutely love it, people. Get those likes up in the chat. Get those likes up in the chat. Come on, people. You know it makes sense. Get your super chats in. There's one just coming now. Get your super chats in. Let us know how you're feeling now you've just heard that. Newcastle United have said tonight they now have no intentions of allowing Alexander Isak to leave the club. No intentions. Let us know how you're feeling, people.
Well, you know what, Pete? We've got one, and you know the saga is over when you get this. And I love this from David H. Great time, and he goes, the one thing that stands out for me in all this is that Graham Bailey thinks Gallagher is better than Joe Linton. I love it. We're back. We're back to normal. All is restored.
All is well.
Right.
All is well.
Back. I think we're talking about the Wilson replacement, weren't we, boys, before all this crap happened? Yeah. Now, let's get back to business on that. Let's sort that out in the next 13 days and be done with it. Be done with this window.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think we're wrapping up, lads. I think we've done enough. Our work here is done.
Our work here is done. People, send this to people that haven't yet seen it. Get those likes up. Come on, we've got 600 in the chat plus only 129 likes. That makes no sense. Come on, people.
How do you want to end the show, lads?
Not with Isak. With our boy Eddie Howe. He deserves it.
Yeah,
He deserves
yeah.
Eddie Howe.
Eddie deserves it. He does.
Oh, he does. He does. He does. So that's it. Thanks for sticking with us. Tune in next transfer window for more of the same. How'd you like that? Good night, everyone.
How you like